So I have a little piece here, and this is from lesson 35, actually, in the workbook. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Because in the very first paragraph, it addresses the shift in our looking that's needed. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. So this holiness that we're speaking of is not how you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. And there's that tension, as if there's a gap between the two. It is difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world to believe this of himself. Yet the reason he thinks he is in this world is because he does not believe it. You will believe that you are part of where you think you are. That is because you surround yourself with the environment you want. Now, this may seem challenging to hear if you're experiencing the environment around you as hostile in some way, or negative, or dull even. And yet, this is the acceptance of the mistake first, so we can accept the correction and be happy and relieved that we're going for. And nobody will be left feeling wrong. Mistaken isn't a feeling of being wrong, it's a feeling of just a ridiculous sense of how could I ever have thought that, and relief. It's not a wrongness like with a shame or a blame attached to it, or I should have done it different, or I wish I'd known sooner. It wouldn't be better if it was different. It wouldn't be better if you'd heard any of this a moment sooner. There is no other moment, there's just now. Okay, so we want to stay in innocence as we listen. Perfect, whole and complete. And you want it to protect the image of yourself that you have made. The image is part of this environment. So the Spirit is saying that you cannot separate the image from the environment, the concept, the self-concept of who you believe yourself to be from the environment it's in. The environment is there to support and uphold the self-concept. Even if you experience it as ripping it down or in conflict or against, that is reinforcing certain aspects of the self-concept that are integral to maintaining it as real. And struggle is the best form of maintaining something as real. Love just collapses everything. That's why we spend most of our life in struggle. If it was all sweet and lovely, like they say in the Matrix, everyone would just wake up straight away. So that's why you only awaken from happy dreams. And today we're going for a happy dream scene of seeing that there isn't you and other and against, or any tension here in reality. What you see while you believe you are in it is seen through the eyes of the image. So Jesus is describing you as the image, the character sense of self. So if you want to even picture where you're sitting right now, seemingly in front of a computer with Sarah on the screen and lots of other little boxes, you're relating through this image of yourself that isn't who you are. This is not vision. Images cannot see. The only one that is seeing anything, even this delusion or Maya in front, is the one watching, the one who can awaken, and it is not a person. People are not holy. People do not awaken. So you can feel relieved of judging this little sense of character self, this image that you've made, as not being somehow holy enough. Just need to step a little further back off the screen to see the big picture so that you can really activate that holiness in your awareness and embrace it. This is the tiny tweak that Jesus just loves giving us so that we can step into our magnitude and our function of forgiveness, our function of acceptance, that everything is the past and already healed and done, and that there is nothing for us to do soften into the acceptance of that where it is, in a sensation of like back there, rather than a grabbing and a getting and a fixing and a crossing our fingers and hoping it works out well in the end. It's just a very different orientation. In the earlier part of the mind searching period, you will probably emphasize what you consider to be more negative aspects of your perception of yourself. I see myself as failing. I see myself as failing my brother. I see myself as not good enough. I see myself as not holy. Whatever way you're thinking of yourself today, those are the aspects that we focus on in this particular type of lesson. And yet, every day, it's how we see ourselves. Toward the latter part of the exercise period, however, more self-inflating descriptive terms may well cross your mind. Try to recognize that the direction of your fantasies about yourself does not matter. There is no positive or negative here. It's just the idea that you're a person is the restriction. Illusions have no direction in reality. They are merely not true. And again, this is the relief. This is the relief. And we're going to go the whole way through using this question and the other questions that have come to us into a state of mind that just offers us the answer, you know, that capital A answer. Because my mind, it even uses a but, which is rare in the course, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. So holiness is an inherited state. It's Christ awareness. It isn't a personal state, which is a great relief. Persons don't awaken. Persons will never be happy, just to be clear. Never. Persons will never be happy. They'll look like they have up days and down days and up days and down. Persons, it's a mesmerism. So we couldn't possibly exemplify happiness. So the contentment that we're looking for, the acceptance that we're looking for, the soft bubbling joy and love that we're looking for is all an internal experience of being the one watching, of being the mind, of being Christ. As often as possible during the day, pick up a specific attribute or attributes you are ascribing to yourself at the time and apply the idea for today to them, adding the idea in the form stated above to each of them. If nothing particular occurs, you merely repeat the idea yourself with eyes closed. But my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And I really like to remind everyone that it's the Holy Spirit's convincing job. You're not to try and find a mechanism by which you can convince yourself of something you don't believe. You simply bring your unbelief to the Spirit. That lovely list of, well, I see myself as. I see myself as unwell. I see myself as sick. I see myself as a kind relation. I see myself as a good grandmother. I see myself as someone who wants to help. I see myself as a good course student. I see myself as a good forgiver. All of those descriptions, no matter whether they appear to be on the good or the negative side, are all descriptions of a person. And that image does not see holiness. So we can't conceive of ourselves as a person and see holiness. We're being invited to conceive of ourselves as Christ. There's the second coming. There's the rebirth of awareness of the truth of who you are, to conceive of yourself as Christ. And you're not asked to pretend or fake it till you make it or push it out front. You're merely asked to sink back into something that's true of you, that you've not been leaning on or trusting in, just to see how it feels, a movement into that experience, because it's just longing to meet you where you're at and swaddle you in clothes and lay you in a manger of light and bright so that you can receive and experience the light of the world, the truth of who you are, without leaving the bed. Nothing is needed of you in this world. There's no one to save or help. There's nothing exterior to drive you. You may be compelled to go out and share and shine, but it will be coming from the joy of that being, from that rebirth inside your own awareness. It's not coming from an external call that's needing of you. It's just an effervescent desire to give and extend that will come through you. That's the state of holiness. So with the next few questions, we're going to look at where it can seem and appear that things are misaligned or out of whack or unwell in awareness. We can see where healing in mind is still needed. So I'd like everyone to take a moment to just bring to mind into their awareness anywhere they are actually really trying to do their best, where they've broken out of the mold in which they've been living and they've stuck it to the spirit and they're saying, show me. And yet something seems to be a little amiss in the being shown. Somehow the softness and the peace is not yet coming in. And this a slight fear that maybe we're not doing it right, or there's something more we could be doing, or that we're not getting it right. And again, it's like I see myself as not doing it right. I see myself as trying hard. I see all of our lists from before. Anywhere there's a frustration or a like, I really just don't get it. Why this keeps happening. I have no idea why this keeps happening. So I'm going to read just a tiny bit from lesson 135. If I defend myself, I am attacked. Who would defend himself unless he thought he was attacked? That the attack were real and that his own defense could save himself. And herein lies the folly of defense. It gives illusions full reality and then attempts to handle them as real. It adds illusions to illusions, thus making correction doubly difficult. And it is this you do when you attempt to plan the future, activate the past, or organize the present as you wish. Now that's what we do every single day, no matter what our circumstances. This is not a rare occurrence. This is what we expect being responsible to be. And so the Spirit is really inviting us to peel back from our idea of what we're supposed to do to be responsible. And for a moment, and I really mean a moment, just one moment, it's risk-free to pause and say, what if I don't know what it means to be responsible even for myself? What if I just don't know? I have been trying so hard. I've been doing so good. I have welcomed all types of input, and yet something still seems to be missing. And today we're going to look at that tweak in the mind for what's been missing and what's been having that tension there, that very slight fear feeling. Might it be completely minimized and down low that I'm doing it wrong, that I could get it wrong, that I could mess it up, and it would be my fault. You operate from the belief you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you. A sense of threat is an acknowledgement of an inherent weakness, a belief there is danger, which has the power to call on you to make appropriate defense. Defense is frightening. It stems from fear, and we've talked about the maintenance of fear by not fully looking at it. That continues. Increasing fear as each defense is made. Whew, I got through that one. Okay, we got past that now. Hopefully the next thing we'll be okay with, but again, it's not fully being looked at where the fear is coming from, the conditions that are underlying the fear that Jesus says he can help us with, but he can't help us with the fear itself. Can only help with the conditions, the beliefs and the desires in the mind where the fear is stemming from. You think it offers you safety, the defenses you come up with, yet it speaks of fear made real and terror justified. Is it not strange that you do not pause to ask, as you elaborate your plans and make your armor thicker and your locks more tight, what you defend and how and against what? So I do recommend that all of you read lesson 135 in the vein in which we're looking at it today, because it really unearths this idea of true responsibility and the holiness one of true responsibility for sight and vision with the spirit, because images do not see. So I want you to step back from the question. I want you to step back from the life-threatening feeling, the imminent need to do something, to help, to fix something, to address something, because the urgency is for the miracle. The urgency is for the pause for prayer and getting clear on even what you're praying for and why. And that only comes if we step back into this sense of self that's watching and see and witness to all the love in these scenes, all the trying and, the heartfelt doings and the strategizing and the coming up with ideas of what might work. And now I'm going to invite you back into a different state of awareness, into a different way of seeing. And so my question is, why would I want it to be this way? And there is an affirmative answer for that. Why would I want it to be this way? Look in innocence with us right now at why we would want it to be this way. What does it give us? What does it reinforce in our self-concept? Even if it's that I'm good and kind and worrying about someone, even the idea that that's an attribute that I would want to maintain. Any ideas that I am responsible for this body or that body, that this body should be a certain way, that health looks like something in form, whereas all healing is in mind, that it's somehow ideal, that it would be different. And so we must come back to our looking. There's an image seeing here, as we read from lesson 35. We're seeing an image, an image's idea of the world. And so we must come back to the vision of the spirit and see that there is nothing wrong with the image. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. Because until we stop the frightened, as we've talked about, like panic patting down, of the fire, until we can do that, we can't really be utilized to come into the answer. And the answer is for yourself. The answer is first and foremost like a sense of relaxation and relief of what is. So you're coming into an acceptance of that love. And anytime we keep orientating to the images that are telling us fearful thoughts, then we're not looking with the spirit. What if you could see everything that seems to be happening before you or even to you and around you as symbolic, and not at all anything that says anything about you? It doesn't describe your state of mind. It doesn't say you're doing good. It doesn't say you're doing bad. Now I've one defining example that will bring that swiftly into your awareness. Because what does an example of someone being nailed to a cross say about the person? The answer is, it doesn't say anything about a person. It doesn't say anything. we're all here trying to perfect and show up glowing and well-being and some image making that we're doing all the time. And yet the defining image that we were given, which is in fact the resurrection, but symbolically seems to move through what looks like a crucifixion, we're still trying to get the storyline to look good. And that's the wrong emphasis, because the relief cannot come from anything you're going to see on the screen. The relief can only come from seeing, a bit like the Holiness in lesson 35. There isn't a good or a bad. I see myself as on a cross, or I see myself as resurrected even. That's still a personal. There isn't anything good or bad between the two of those. It's just not true. None of it was you, ever. None of it was you. And you're being invited to just be relieved of this intensity and this tension of focusing on the person and their performance, and to peel back further into the relief of seeing you're not that one. And so we're moving our way gently towards that, okay? So you can relax and trust that we're coming there. It doesn't have to be clear yet. You just have to be mildly curious and open to seeing, well, I don't believe that, so show me how. And that's what the Spirit's hoping to do. Fourth question. And this, again, the answer is the same for all of them. So this is why I really love that we're taking this weather report for the mind, because in exposing what's happening in the mind, everyone here, whether you seem to have written in a question or not, is hearing the same answer to the problem as it appears to happen in their lives. Or it may even seem to correct a perceptual problem or a distress or an intensity that they've had seemingly in the past. But this moment is the holy instant to awaken from that mesmerism of then and now. It's all happening now. It's all possible now. There is no other moment.